Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and today, Joel. So we will start with what was the early Premier League fixture was West Ham Chelsea Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, probably more about West Ham than it was about Chelsea. I don't know if that's fair, but I feel like the story is like you would expect Chelsea to go there and win, but the way that they won and just the kind of apathy that seems to be surrounding West Ham at the moment is probably the main story. Like we know that Chelsea are a good team and we know that they can do that to teams on their day. But I feel like West Ham kind of started quite brightly, and then as soon as there was any kind of pushback from Chelsea and any kind of adversity that the West Ham side had to face, they kind of went into themselves a little bit, and Chelsea just took the game away from them towards the end of the first half and early in the second. So it ended up really being a really, really comfortable victory for them, even without Cole Palmer, who got injured in the warm-up. A good sign for them that they're not totally reliant on him to score and create goals. It's probably been the case for a while, to be fair. It's been a bit quiet for Chelsea, hasn't it, in the Premier League? Or at least that's what my
he has been, but was running the show. I say in pre-season, but in the Club World Cup, he was running the show, hence him being in something like 54% of people's FPL teams. Yeah, we called it last week about West Ham and Graham Potter, that are they in a little bit of trouble? And is he the man to right the ship? A bit of the vibe on the podcast was maybe not. And we got the input about his time in Brighton, and maybe anyone could have done that job. So this is his real stern test for Graham Potter now, and how he can alter the course of the West Ham ship. He then followed up the Chelsea result, going away to Wolves in the League Cup and getting dumped unceremoniously out of that as well, which isn't helping the mood. And he is, of course, is no surprise, the number one bet pick to be the first manager to go in the Prem.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he's favourite for that. I don't really think it's about him. I think there's a lot going on at the club that means that it's a bit of a concoction of things, but I just don't think that the West Ham fans are going to warm to him enough that it buys him time, to be honest, in a way that, like, if you think back to how that happened with Postecoglou at Spurs last season, like he was struggling for results in the league, but I feel like he had enough kind of good feeling from the stands that the club could kind of stick with him. Obviously, the cup run was a big factor in that. But I don't see where that comes from for Potter. I don't think any West Ham fan would be that upset if...
We're going to wait till January now to have a potential cup run. So
exactly,
not likely that he is going to last until then. I'm not sure 100% what their upcoming fixtures are, but I don't think it's bright. They've
got Forest away at the weekend as well. That's a tough fixture, and then we go into the international break. And even though we're only 3 games in at that point, international breaks are synonymous with managerial sackings, aren't they?
They are, but we know we spoke about it not this time last year, a little bit later on. We had it in the quiz about the new manager bounce, and they are better to sack their manager earlier in the season than later in the season. So there is that to be said. I'm not really sure who's out there anyway. Not dwell too much on struggling West Ham. As we said, possibly it was a good result for Chelsea, but mainly more about West Ham. What was the lunchtime kickoff? The lunchtime kickoff was Man City Spurs.
Spurs, Spurs looked really good. Really brave in the way that they pressed City. And I thought City looked toothless, especially in that second half where you would expect, okay, when are they going to start applying some pressure? It didn't really come. So it's really hard. You don't want to draw conclusions this early in the season, and City have had like a good game and then a bad game. But I still think something about them doesn't look quite right, especially out wide. Like, I think them using Doku out wide is such a weird one because he just gives up possession all the time. Or he does. He might go past his man, but then
he came on for Marmoush, so Marmoush did the same. A similar thing happened, and I thought that's why Marmoush had been hooked off, because he got brought off after 54 minutes, which is a little unlike Pep. So he hooks him off and brings on Doku, and Doku has a similar performance. It might as well have just been Marmoush continuing, but no creative output from them. And I think this is actually... I don't think, there's stuff that's good here with Spurs, but I also think this is the Man City that we saw last season. I don't think that what we saw last week was maybe a little bit of a false start.
Yeah, well, Wolves
we're going to find out who the real City are over the next few weeks and after the international break. Yeah, they don't have a tough game this weekend.
They've got Brighton away.
No offence, Brighton. Sorry, Andy.
Well, no, I think it's... Yeah, I mean, Brighton played on Sunday, didn't they, away at Everton. I wouldn't say that I'm worried about them. I just think they are flattering to deceive at the moment. I think I listened to a few previews that said that Brighton might do well this season, but I don't think I'm seeing loads from them early on in the season that suggests that's the case. But yeah.
Welbeck missed an absolute sitter.
I just felt he missed a pen as well. I just felt like he was always going to miss that penalty. I mean, it's tough going to Everton on that first game at the new stadium and whatever. And
what's the new stadium called?
The Hill Dickinson.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. It's a Liverpudlian legal firm, I think, and it's billed as one of the most lucrative naming rights deals in Europe, which I was very surprised to learn. But yeah, there you go. But I mean, I think the stadium looks great. I think it looked great on the telly. From what obviously a win helps, but Everton fans that I've seen online and whatever seem to be saying that it's a good place to go and watch football. It definitely looks like they've got the steepness of the sides right and created something that can create an atmosphere. So I think that's cool. They've got they've got some sharp looking forwards as well. I was a bit down on their Grealish move, actually. I wasn't sure, because he was not heavily linked, but there was a lot of chat amongst Villa fans that maybe it was time to try and get him back or whatever. And I was never really into that because I didn't necessarily think he was the player who left Villa or could be that player again. But he showed some signs of it on Sunday from what I saw, really running at his fullback, holding his width, which David Moyes obviously told him to do on that first goal. I think Everton have got a throw-in in their right back position, and Grealish is really stretching the pitch. And yeah, that's interesting because it's creates space for him to run into and stuff, and that's what created the goal in the end. So I think
one
really
match doth not make a season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've just got to keep watching and seeing how they do. But I would be worried about Grealish's durability, actually being asked to play week in, week out after a couple of years not doing that. So that would be my concern. But wait and see.
Yeah, a couple of years in squad rotation. Squads. First team's okay for Everton and Brighton, but both squads, when you scratch a little deeper below the surface, are both struggling a little bit. And I think we jumped away from Spurs, Man City. Man City, we know they've got the squad depth, but Spurs, actually, we saw a little bit where their squad depth was tested last season, and I don't think they've recruited enough.
No.
So although they have a strong first team out at the moment, and their back four looks really like it. Romero as captain now in place of Son, I think was an astute choice as well by Thomas Frank. I think he's made some good and clever decisions both tactically and also in terms of his player management. But yeah, if their squad depth is challenged, I think we're going to see them fall away from a challenge quite early.
Yeah, I think it's a real theme, actually, of clubs in general. I think there's only a couple, like you say. I think City have got depth, but is that depth of the quality that they would usually have? And is their first team of the quality that they would usually have? I think Arsenal's depth looks really good now that Eze is there. I think they look like one of the strongest squads. But even I was looking at Liverpool's bench on Monday night, and even then I was thinking, obviously the young lad comes off the bench and scores, and
16-year-old, yeah,
makes me look really silly for thinking that. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a theme that there aren't that many deep squads knocking around. Chelsea is obviously a complete anomaly. They're just trading players all the time. Yeah, I've seen a few team sheets where it's a bit like, okay, that looks doesn't look particularly strong on the bench there.
Would totally agree. So to St James's Park on Monday night, and it was Newcastle's attempts at breaking legs versus Liverpool, it seemed like.
Yeah, it's a complete ding-dong game. I actually stopped watching when Gordon got sent off. I was like, God, okay, I don't know if this is going to be the game that I was hoping it was going to be, and then get the notification that Ekitike has scored, and it's like, oh, okay, just 2-0, probably the end of it now. But yeah, fair play to Newcastle. They really kept going, kept that intensity up. Didn't really allow Liverpool to ever get hold of the game, even with one more player on the pitch. So I think that shows the intensity that they played at. I would worry.
The ball in play was, I read, was something like 40 minutes, like the lowest amount of ball in play in really 15 years.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know that. I would worry about Newcastle trying to play with this intensity for a full season, to be honest. Like, they're another one where you kind of look at the bench and think, there's not loads there. They obviously brought in Ramsey from Villa, and I think he's good, but where he fits within that side, I don't really know consistently.
Well, they've got holes all over the place now.
Wow, yeah, they're going to have to shuffle things around with
Isak out,
few injuries
out. Yeah, was it Tonali got injured?
Tonali,
Anthony Gordon, obviously.
Yeah, Gordon obviously banned for 3 games now. But yeah, just generally, I would worry about them being able to keep that intensity up across all the competitions with a relatively thin squad in terms of quality. I think they'd start running into issues in terms of energy levels and injuries, but that's kind of happened before with Howe. And it'd be interesting to see how they manage it once those European games start. But I mean, they've got a brilliant first 11, Newcastle. They're really good to watch. Like, Bruno Guimaraes is such a great player to watch, and yeah, you'd love to have him in your side.
He'd add value to every team in the Prem.
Yeah. I think he's brilliant.
But Liverpool, we said it last week, the gameplay of we'll score more than you left it late to do so, but they did it. But they look so vulnerable at the back.
Oh, yeah.
Kerkez cannot be a defensive solution for them. They have to plug that hole.
Yeah, was it the first goal that he got badly exposed for?
First goal and several major attempts as well for the XG boost was specifically down his way.
Yeah, even with Gravenberch back in the side, they still looked vulnerable, didn't they? So, yeah, like I said last week, I think I'm just interested to see how they manage this going forwards, especially Slot, who didn't seem to want to play this type of football last season. Then all of a sudden, this is how they want to play. I think they need a centre half. I think Konate is looking a bit all over the place at the moment. I'm not really sure what's going on with him, because I think he looked really good last season, but yeah, he looks a bit exposed at the moment. I don't know if that a bit more space with the type of lineup that they have and the way that they're going forward is creating a bit more space that he's struggling to deal with. They seem well in for Mark Way, so it seems like that is still going to happen in the last few days of the window. I think he'll be a good addition.
I saw Robertson was on the bench but didn't come on. Szoboszlai was obviously asked to do the right back role. I'm not sure if Robertson's not fit or we're just carrying a knock and they just risked it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the story is.
But if that's your defensive solution, is dropping your 8 back to right back, then they probably don't have the defensive squad depth that they have at the top of the park.
Well, with Frimpong injured, yeah, it's created a problem for them. And I think they lost a bit with Szoboszlai having to play so deep. You know, he played a part in the goal with his clever little dummy. I think he's such a clever player, and not having him in...
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, not having him further up the pitch is going to hurt you. So it'd be... I don't know. Wirtz is obviously going to take a little bit of time to settle.
I was very optimistic, having seen a couple of the pre-season highlights of the matches, albeit not the whole matches. It seemed like everything was going through him, at least in the highlights it was, and I was missold, given what I saw versus Newcastle, because he couldn't get control of the game. You kind of want everything to go through him for them to tick, but that's not how it's going to happen in the Prem.
I just don't think that's the game for him. Newcastle make it so chaotic and don't give you any space or time on the ball. early on in his Prem career for him to be asked to play in that game. It's a bit of a baptism of fire. I do think he'll be good for them. I feel like it's hard to imagine a world where he isn't good for them, to be honest. So he just probably needs that little period of adjustment. Ekatike hasn't needed that, though. He looks really good.
Really sharp. Any others to speak of before we skip on to the next sport?
I think Arsenal good.
Yeah. I don't think that Leeds are the litmus test for that yet.
No, but that was an important game for a few players, I think. Like Gyökeres stepping up and taking a penalty and like getting his first goal. I think that's important. You don't hanging over you for too long. And Calafiori just looks really good, doesn't he? I think that kind of confidence, that kind of result breeds confidence. And they've got other players to come into the mix as well in Eze now. Their bench looks incredibly strong, I think. Like reading it now, you've got Trossard, Nwaneri, Moreno, Martinelli, Lewis Skelly. Kivior looks like he's out the door, doesn't he? And then you've got this young lad who obviously everyone's extremely excited about, given how young he is, Max Dowman. I think
coming on in place of Madueke, who they've obviously brought in this season.
Yeah, exactly. He spent a lot of money on him.
It looks like Saka's injured for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Most of that is going to be international break. I think what we will see is some players are injured this weekend for the international break conveniently. His is maybe a little bit long and might be a bit too serious and might take a little bit of time to come back, but expect him early October. But real strength there with Zubimendi and Rice. They're so solid covering the back four if the back four ever needed it, which they don't. And they've got two wing backs, I'll call them, who do get forward, although Timbers is mainly threat at set piece, but Calafiori definitely is getting forward and supporting with the attack and get with a very creative and direct front line that they now have, which is what they didn't have last season. So it's looking promising.
I think they've had such a strong window. Like, it's so hard once you get to a team of that level where that Arsenal are at, where they're trying to go deep in the Champions League and trying to win the league at the same time. Like, so difficult to look at those teams and think, where do we make this better? I think they've focused on the right areas in terms of out wide and through the middle up front, and they've brought in the right type of profiles like Madueke and Eze. Can both play either side, both really quick, but can also play in tight spaces. I think they've signed really well-rounded players. I think I'd include Zubimendi in that as well. For them, I think it's going to be all about mentality and can they keep cool heads this season? Because to me, at the moment, their squad looks the most durable and the most well-balanced.
I've said it in previous seasons, so
I feel like I say something similar about Arsenal every year. Yeah.
Very, very comfortable to speak about them in this way at this point in the season. Similarly, last season, I couldn't see how anyone was going to score against them. It feels the same now, but we'll see post-international break. Right, if you've enjoyed listening along, you can like and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. You can get in touch emailing us at allsportspods@gmail.com. And we will catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.